All right, guys, so look, so we're gonna be using 4 fingers within the fingerstyle playing, right? So the reason we don't use the pinky is because the pinky, you can't really do much with it. You can like input it sometimes, but for the most part, you're most likely gonna use these, right? So pay attention, right? So the benefits of using all 4 of your fingers are, of course, having that amount of control, and you're really going to be using your thumb for most of the bass. Now you'll be using your thumb for the E, A, and D string. You won't be using your thumb for any of the other strings like the G, B, and E, simply because that's where the 3 fingers come in. So your 3 fingers are going to be controlling the G, B, and E, while your thumb is solely going to be controlling the E, A, and D. Now, you want to have your hand positioned sideways in a sense. Some people strum finger style like this. The reason I don't is simply because whenever you want to add downstrokes, you feel me? It gives you more control compared to you having your finger like this, and now you're, and plus your shoulders all the way up, like calm down, man. You know what I'm saying? So you really want to just have that bit as normal as possible. So a simple pattern that I started doing to practice all 4 of my fingers has been a pattern that's like this, right? So you'll recognize this pattern from this song called Obstacles by Sid Matters. And essentially you want to start on the F major 7 chord. Now you're on the first fret, you're gonna have your finger on the B string. On the second fret, you're gonna have your finger on the G string, and on the third fret, you're gonna have your finger on the D string, right? Then you'll start with your thumb hitting the D string first. So this is how it's gonna sound. Then I'm gonna show you guys how to do it. So it's right. So essentially, you wanna D, G, B, G, E. So, and then you go to B, G, B. So slowly, you want to do that as slow as possible. After you get that, then all you want to do is go to a C major. Now, in order to do that, all you're going to do is move your ring finger and your middle finger up 1. So essentially, whenever you go to the C major, you probably already know this, but just in case you don't, you're going to keep on the first fret, you're going to keep it on the B string. And on the second fret, you're going to have your finger on the D string. And on the third fret, you're going to have your finger on the A string. So it's going to, right? So now, for the C major, all you're doing is going down. However, so for your thumb is only gonna be, you can also do your thumb by pressing the A and the D, or you can, and then use your index finger to press the D, and then you hit the G, and then you use your ring finger to just hit the last 2. But essentially it's the same. So it's, and then you go to C. So I'm descending all the way down, and then I'm coming back up to the B, to the G, and then back to the B. So right? Very easy. Now, like I said, just practice that, get that get that as your exercise, as your practice. Really get that down, because that will translate into everything else that you play on the guitar once you get that first formation down. See, I just went to the G and I'm still using the same pattern. Stuff like that, you feel me? So practice that and you should be good to go. Oh yeah, and also like I said, the reason that you want to have your hand sideways is, let's say if you wanted to add some strumming in there, right? It's way easier to strum. So let's say if I a bonus exercise that I used to do when I first started playing is you're gonna have your finger on the G major, right? So to play G major, on the second fret, you're gonna have your finger on this A string, and then on the third fret, you're gonna have your finger on the high E string and the low E string. So it'll sound like this, right? Now, something that I used to really gain my 4-finger independence was this. So basically, I'm playing the G. So basically I'm only gonna be using my 3 fingers essentially for this first half. So this is to also help gain that thumb independence when you're switching between the bass, right? Between the E, A, and the D. So essentially you're doing this. So E, and then you're going up. And then to get that independence for the D with the thumb, you'll also go to the D string and you'll be on the 2nd fret. So it's keep doing that as slow as possible until you feel like you have it. And then you're probably wondering, where does the 3rd finger come in? That's where you add your the high E, right? So it'll sound like this. So anytime you're switching, anytime you're hitting the bass with your thumb, all you're gonna do is do that with your ring finger as well. So it's so practice that, and I promise, like, that's off rip gonna help you along the rest of the time that you're playing chords and everything like that.